All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Outlap Critical. This is episode number 3. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, and help us build this community. So, today on today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about Kimi Antonelli, a little bit about George Russell, a little bit about Lewis Hamilton, and then we're going to talk about the Red Bull team. And I think you'll be interested to hear what we have to say about Red Bull for sure. But stick around with me for the episode. Again, if you hadn't had an opportunity to like, subscribe, share, make sure you let people know what we got going on over here. And so, again, this is episode number 3, Outlap Critical. Thank you guys for joining me. Without further ado, we're going to talk about Kimi Antonelli. All right, fresh on the clock. We got 3 minutes here. So, with Kimi Antonelli, I think that he's starting to stake his claim as the new leader of the team. And at the beginning of the year, George Russell had his issues, and that was a whole lot to do about things that he had no control over. So when you look at the beginning of the season and Kimi starts to win and starts to get better results and better results, to me, that's just confidence building. He's building that confidence up to the Kimi we have right now, and now he's looking undeniable. He's fast, he's confident, he's risky in all the right ways. He's almost got that edge to him that Max had before he won his championship, just a little less risky, I think. But he pushes it. Kimi is ready to push at all times. And I think it needs to be said that with Kimi going as fast and as hard as he is right now, the question is the championship inevitable? Because he does have Lewis on his tail right now. I mean, it's not like it's close or anything, but Lewis is the closest. I mean, George is really the closest, if we're being honest. But Kimi really hasn't had this string of really, really bad luck yet. And so I can't say for sure. But I'm very interested to see how he looks when we come back from the summer break, how George looks when he comes back from the summer break. Is Kimi going to be even more dominant? Is Kimi the kind of guy that sniffs this championship coming and really just locks in? I don't think he's the kind of guy that relaxes. I think he really is committed to this thing. And so I'm very interested to see where we go with Kimi Antonelli. But I do think he's the odds-on favorite for the championship this year. I think Lewis can catch him if Ferrari gives him a capable vehicle, but it has to be pretty soon. All right. Let's move on to George Russell. All right, so with George Russell, man, I mean, you got to feel bad for the guy at least a little bit. I mean, George has that unlikable quality about him, but you got to feel bad for him just a little bit. Taken out by Lewis in the first corner, but in the first lap. And, then to go on and see your teammate who's already leading in the championship jump out and, but again, last week, Kimi had the bad luck. This week, you have the bad luck. And, he's starting to stretch that lead. But the thing is that I think needs to be talked about is George is looking further and further behind Kimi the further we go, or the longer the season goes. And I know he's having issues in the car right now. There's something going on with that car. But if you heard Toto talking about it, Toto was saying that, yeah, some of it's the car, but some of it's George too. And so it makes me wonder if Kimi is dealing with the same issues, is just dealing with them better. But the longer we go with this, the more it seems like George's contract was put in place just as a confidence builder to make sure you didn't have a complete dud of a driver this year, as opposed to we need to go ahead and get this driver signed. I still stand on that. I think the reason why it took so long is because they wanted to see if they could get Max. But once that didn't materialize, and they went ahead and got the George signing done. But at the same time, George basically came into the season with the firm grip on the team, a firm grip on what was going to happen. And now it's the exact opposite. And I've been one of the ones that's been pretty hypercritical of George, just of the way that he kind of does this thing. He just has that unlikable quality about him, like I was saying before. But he's going to have an opportunity after the summer break, and I know we have a race before that, but this weekend, of course. But he has an opportunity at the end of the summer break. He's going to have to really put a stamp on this thing. He's going to have to figure out what the issue is. I mean, he shouldn't be taking a summer break. He should use that entire summer break to get in that simulator and do whatever he needs to do to get back to where he needs to be a front running driver again. But he can't possibly come back and have the rest of the season end up just like this season was, or end of the season end up just like the season's going so far. He's got to fix this because even if he isn't at Mercedes next year, for instance, if he's going elsewhere, this is an audition. Like he's got to figure this out. So with George, I still think he's such a capable driver, though. That's the only thing. I don't see George to be, I don't see George to be, a dud. I just think he's maybe just stepped into something with Kimmy, and I think a lot of it has to do with the confidence that was built while George was having the issues with the car in the beginning of the year. And so, what do you guys think? I mean, I think the writing's on the wall with George right now, and he has the opportunity to change that, but it's going to be on him. And so, all right, so we're going to be moving on to Lewis Hamilton now. Guys, I have got to tell you, the Lewis Hamilton thing has me hot, or at least got me fired up a little bit because it was clearly a turn one incident. I mean, if you look at it here, Lewis goes into, his turn, loses control a bit. And as he was saying on the radio, he did have somebody directly in front of him, affecting the way that he turned the car. So it's literally a classic first lap incident. The tires aren't warm yet. The cars are just getting on the track. The track isn't warm yet. Everything is perfect conditions for there to be some kind of an incident. And when that happens, we call it a lap one incident. And for some reason, when it happens with Lewis, we're turning around and we're making it a 5-second penalty right away. And then they come out with this written statement on somehow, some way where they've determined, bro, they use this jargon and stuff like that to determine why. And then literally Charles Leclerc is on track with the McLaren and guides him off the road, not so gently, and got away with it. And it's not necessarily just that he got away with it, it's how quickly they came back and said no further investigation. Like it was almost immediate. And it was like, on one, you have a driver who is clearly not doing something intentional, trying to keep the car on track, trying to keep the car around the corner, trying to do everything he's supposed to do. Car got away from him a little bit. He's trying to correct it. George was just right there at the wrong place, wrong time. And, literally the definition of a turn one incident or a lap one incident. And then we have Charles utilize his car basically to close the gap and make sure the McLaren couldn't get around him. So one was clearly accidental and the other was intentional. They both caused contact. Obviously, George's contact was worse, but they both created damage. Yet Lewis is the one who gets the penalty. Like, I'm not making, I know a lot of people make a lot of assumptions about what that is, and I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say that's what it is. However, you've got one driver that seems to get these weird penalties all the time, and it's getting odd. Like, at a certain point, and this is why I say that the stewards shouldn't be able to hide behind somewhere and write some kind of note and say, hey, this is why we did what we did, and then they're good. No. You got to get in front of a camera and you got to explain it. Like, get in front of a camera, have the reporters ask you questions as vigorously as they ask questions of the drivers when something goes on. Like, have them go just as hard is what I'm looking for, right? So I think they should be made to answer those questions. If a driver has to go to the stewards and explain why he did this or that, or if they've already made the decision on what they believe is going on, then I think that since this is affecting a lot of things. Like, we keep in mind, like, Charles looks great in that race. He did. Good. But we have to keep in mind, Lewis did have a 5-second penalty he had to serve. And so I'm of the opinion that Lewis was faster. In the race, we heard that he was getting held up, or at least he said he was getting held up. I'm sure all drivers say this, but anyway, I just feel as though Lewis Hamilton, at least on this occasion, let's just keep it on this occasion. On this occasion, got the raw end of the deal. Obviously not a incident that should have been recorded as a penalty there. And so we'll just leave it at that. And next up, we're going to talk about the Red Bull team. And I got to tell you guys, the level of strategy, the strategy call they made to have Hadjar come in, and of course the safety car had something to do with that, but the how quickly they just made the decision. We're in, we're switching, you're going long. And pause. And um we quite literally saw that's the thing. This is why people are starting to think that he's going to be the one that can actually utilize the seat. Because when Max ends up at the back of the grid, he literally will go from the back all the way to the front, or as far as humanly possible in whatever car he's in. And that's exactly what we saw with Isaac. That's exactly what we saw. So Hadjar starts all the way in the back and just carves his way through the field. Just pass after pass after pass after pass. And every time there was an opportunity to pit when there was supposed to, Red Bull was on it, just like this. No hesitation, no questioning. Should we do this? Should we do that? Red Bull just seems to always have it under control when it's time to race. There's never any confusion in the pits. There's never any what tire should we be on. You never hear a message come onto the radio after they've left the pits asking what kind of tire they're on, or hey, what's going on with this, or in Lewis's situation, not getting the wing adjustment he was supposed to get. You never hear that with them. Like win or lose, the car may not be there for every single race, but I will tell you that team just has it under control. And it seems chaotic because of the way Max is on the radio, but I kind of find comfort in how direct he is with them. And I kind of find comfort in the fact of how unhinged Isaac can be sometimes. These guys are winners. They want to win. They don't have time for anything else. And this is how winners behave. And it may seem harsh to us, but I always tell people, when you get upset about the things that are being said over the radio, keep in mind, they're not talking to us. We're listening to a private conversation, and God only knows what they would hear if everybody listened to our private conversations, right? And so, their strategy seems to be always right on par. They make the changes to the car that Max and Isaac need when it's needed. Like for instance, they always seem to come into free practice one and just be completely terrible. Max is on the radio acting crazy. And then FP2 a little bit better, FP3, and then by qualifying, Max is at the front of the field again. And now we're starting to see Isaac do the same thing. He was fast this weekend. I think he would have been a challenge had he not had to start from the back of the field. And so we got to keep an eye on that. And I think that Ferrari, for instance, needs to take a look at what happens when you make effective strategy calls and you make them quickly. When you do that, this is what happens. You let the driver determine what happens. You don't let the bad strategy calls determine what's actually going to go down in the race. And so, all right. So thank you guys for joining me on episode 3. I hope you like the new layout of the show. We're going to be recording this a whole lot more frequently now. So make sure, again, you subscribe, like, and share this with all of your friends. And we will see you for the next episode. We'll be talking about the next race coming up at the weekend, and we'll talk to you then.